responsible for more human fatalities than all of the other snake species in the world combined. Before we tell you about these creepy creatures, make sure to like this video, subscribe to The Richest, and join our notification squad. Now, let's get into 10 most venomous snakes in the world. Inland taipan. We've all heard of snakes with venom that can fatally injure a human with one bite, but the inland taipan goes one step further. It can take down 100 humans or 250,000 mice with a single bite. Now, that's certainly a snake we wouldn't go near for any amount of money. Often called the most venomous snake in the world, the inland taipan is commonly found on Australia's east coast. However, just because this snake has the power to do an awful lot of damage, it doesn't mean that it goes out of its way to hurt people. In fact, the inland taipan is fairly shy and reclusive. Its placid disposition allows it to escape trouble more often than not, but it will lash out if it feels threatened. This demeanor is partially due to the fact that this snake lives in remote areas that aren't often inhabited by humans. But this snake's venom is ultimately designed to kill warm-blooded prey like us. And if you do happen to get bit by an inland taipan, you've only got around 30 to 45 minutes before the fatal bite works its magic. Eastern brown snake. The eastern brown snake, otherwise known as the common brown snake, is found in Australia and Tasmania. You can sometimes come across it in Papua New Guinea, but it's much rarer to see it there. The eastern brown snake is the world's second most venomous snake. It can be found in many different types of habitats, which makes it all the more harder to avoid. This snake can survive in eucalypt forests, pastures, coastal heathlands, savanna woodlands, arid shrublands, and inner grasslands. Along with being the second most dangerous snake, the eastern brown snake is probably the most frequently encountered venomous snake. The reason for this is that this snake is one of the few that prefers daylight. It especially enjoys sunny days. Most of them have an average length between 3.6 to 5.9 feet, but the longest eastern brown snake discovered so far was a whopping 7.9 feet long. If that isn't a scary enough fact, consider that this snake counts feral cats as a big part of its diet. Yellow-bellied sea snake. The yellow-bellied sea snake might be one of the most aesthetically pleasing snakes to make our list, but it's also one of the most deadly. Its coloring makes it quite rare in the world of snakes, especially sea snakes. Yellow-bellied sea snakes are common in the tropical parts of the Pacific and Indian Oceans, where the water is between 64 and 68 degrees warm. However, this doesn't mean that you won't bump into it anywhere else. On occasion, this yellow-bellied creature has been spotted in Russia, Tasmania, New Zealand, and California. But generally, it's unlikely to come across a yellow-bellied sea snake unless you're looking through objects that have washed up ashore. But if you do get too close, it could be the end of you. This snake has small fangs that can only inject a small dose of venom, but it's a deadly dose nonetheless. It's full of highly toxic substances that can lead to muscle pain, stiffness, drooping eyelids, drowsiness, and vomiting. A larger dose can cause paralysis and death. Perron's sea snake. The Perron sea snake is the only sea snake with spines on the head. If that doesn't make you want to avoid it, we're not sure what will. This snake was named after François Perron, the French naturalist and explorer who was one of the first to discover it. This relatively large snake is slightly out of proportion with its big body and small head, but that small head can certainly do a lot of damage. The Perron sea snake has the potential to inject its venom through short, fixed, hollow fangs at the front of its mouth. But although it's known as one of the most venomous snakes in the world, there are no recorded incidences of it biting humans. Most of the damage it inflicts is on fish or other creatures that try to attack it. This horned sea snake is widespread around Australia and Southeast Asia and appears to have split itself into two separate distributions in the northern and southern hemispheres. This means that you can find it anywhere from the northern coast of Australia to Thailand, Taiwan, Singapore, and the Loyalty Islands. Coastal taipan. The coastal taipan doesn't always stick to its namesake and has regularly been seen in a variety of habitats that are hundreds of miles away from the ocean. From temperate to tropical coastal regions, wet or dry forests, and natural and man-made grassy areas, the coastal taipan snake isn't picky as to where it sets up camp for the night. Based in Australia, the coastal taipan is actually the country's largest venomous snake, and it also has the longest fangs. It can grow up to 6.6 feet long and can weigh up to 14 pounds. but the largest recorded snake of this kind measured a length of 11 feet. Its powerful cocktail of venom has the potential to paralyze the heart, lungs, and diaphragm. It basically makes the victim suffocate from one single bite. And if that wasn't bad enough, its venom also destroys muscle tissue and can cause internal bleeding. It's not quite as dangerous as the inland taipan, but it comes into contact with humans on a far more regular basis. Tiger snake. You'll almost definitely recognize a tiger snake if you come across one in the wild, thanks to its distinctive pattern. The only snake you could possibly confuse it with is the eastern brown snake, which is a similar color. They're both incredibly venomous though, so your best bet is to run away if you stumble upon either of them. The tiger snake is found in southern Australia and is often associated with watery environments like creeks, dams, drains, lagoons, wetlands, and swamps. With the potential to grow up to almost 8 feet long, this snake is certainly on the larger side. Its diet consists of fish, lizards, birds, and the occasional mammal. The tiger snake also has the ability to climb up and feast on a bat hanging in a tree. Generally, the tiger snake won't attack humans unless it's provoked. It's shy in nature, but its strong neurotoxic venom means that it will definitely outsmart you when it comes to fighting back. It's an extremely dangerous snake to come across in the wild. Black mamba. Often described as fast, nervous, lethally venomous, and highly aggressive, the black mamba snake is one to avoid. Although it might not be the world's most venomous snake, it's widely considered the world's most dangerous. The black mamba snake can grow up to 14 feet long and has a lifespan of around 11 years. It typically lives in the savannas and rocky hills of southern and eastern Africa. It can slither at a surprisingly high speed of 12.5 miles per hour, which is probably faster than you can run. Until recently, a bite from a black mamba snake was always fatal and people would start to suffer right away. Just 20 minutes later, they'd no longer be breathing. The invention of black mamba antivenom, an injection which aims to counteract the effects of the poison, means that some people get a lucky escape. However, it's still not widely available, which means the snake still wins many of the fights it gets into with humans. Belcher sea snake. Most people who get bitten by a Belcher sea snake are fishermen. Though these snakes have lost the ability to move around on land, they certainly try their best if they accidentally end up above water. This snake isn't typically an aggressive one and prefers to keep to itself under the waters of the Indian Ocean. You can also find it around Australia, in Queensland, or the Northern Territory. Thankfully, divers in these areas aren't usually in trouble if they stick to their roots and don't agitate this snake. It actually takes a lot of perceived aggression from a human before the Belcher sea snake will deem it necessary to attack. Unless the snake feels that its life is in danger, it probably won't try to bite you. But that doesn't mean to say that it's harmless. Its venom comes in the form of a toxin that enters the nervous system. It travels through the body until it reaches the lungs, causing the victim to stop breathing. King cobra. The king cobra snake is the longest of all venomous snakes. It has the potential to grow over 16 feet long, meaning you'll almost definitely spot one if it starts slithering towards you. But if it spots you first, you're unlikely to get away fast enough to talk about your experience. Its scientific name is Ophiophagus hanna, which loosely translates to snake eater. And if the thought of a snake that eats its own species to survive doesn't put you off, then wait until you've heard what else this cobra is capable of. Its venom might not be the most powerful on this list, but it has the potential to fatally injure an elephant in just one bite. Its attack on a human will almost certainly leave them suffering from blurred vision, vertigo, drowsiness, and paralysis. And if you do find yourself bitten by one of these terrifying creatures, it's quite likely you'll need to say your goodbyes in the next half an hour before it's all over. Only immediate treatment will save you from this deadly snake. Saw-scaled viper. The saw-scaled viper is a deceptively small snake, considering how much damage it can do. It has an irritable and aggressive nature. It's also thought to be responsible for more human fatalities than all of the other snake species in the world combined. Along with its bad attitude, the saw-scaled viper holds lethal venom in its fangs that can do damage almost instantly. They're quick to strike if alarmed, and the mortality rate for those who were in the wrong place at the wrong time is very high. This snake is another one that's not too picky when it comes to where it lives. You can find it anywhere from Africa and Arabia all the way to southwestern Asia, India, and Sri Lanka. Fully grown saw-scaled vipers range from 1 to 3 feet and typically have dark spots on their